The kitchen pipe was dripping again at 11:47 p.m. when I heard my wife Sarah say the words that would destroy everything I thought I knew about my marriage. "You know I never stopped thinking about you, Derek. I want to feel that spark again. I'll book the room at the Marriott downtown. Mark won't suspect a thing." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I was crouched under the sink with a wrench in my hand, fixing the same damn leak for the third time this month. The cold water had been dripping onto my forehead for 20 minutes, but suddenly that seemed like nothing compared to the ice water flowing through my veins. Sarah was in the living room, her voice carrying that breathy, flirtatious tone I hadn't heard directed at me in years. She thought I was in the basement working on my computer repair business invoices. She had no idea I'd come upstairs for a different wrench. "I know, baby," she continued, and I could hear her pacing. 17 years is a long time, but seeing you at Jennifer's wedding last month, God, it was like college all over again, like we were meant to be together. I stayed frozen under that sink, wrench gripping so tight my knuckles went white. 17 years. We'd been married for 15 years. So this spark predated our entire relationship. "Mark's been so distant lately," Sarah said, her voice dropping to that intimate whisper. "Always working on those stupid computers, never paying attention to me. He has no idea how lonely I've been." Lonely. Right. I worked 60-hour weeks running my IT business to pay for her BMW, her designer clothes, her monthly spa treatments. I fixed every broken thing in this house while she complained that I wasn't romantic enough, and apparently I was so oblivious that she could plan an affair right under my nose. "Tomorrow night then," she said. "Room 412. I'll tell Mark I'm having dinner with my sister." Her sister lived in Seattle. I'd know because I paid for Sarah's plane tickets every time she visited. The call ended, and I heard her footsteps heading upstairs to our bedroom. Our bedroom, where she'd been sleeping next to me every night while planning to cheat with her college boyfriend. I slid out from under the sink and sat on the kitchen floor, still holding that wrench. The house was quiet except for the sound of water running upstairs as Sarah got ready for bed, probably doing her skincare routine, the same one she'd done every night for 15 years. The routine I'd watched her do thousands of times, never knowing she was thinking about another man. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend Tank. "Beer tomorrow? You look like you need it." Tank was right. I looked like hell lately. Sarah had been picking fights over everything. The way I loaded the dishwasher, my choice of TV shows, the fact that I wore the same brand of jeans I'd worn since college. I thought it was work stress. Turns out, it was guilt. I climbed the stairs slowly, each step feeling heavier than the last. Sarah was already in bed, pretending to read some legal thriller. She worked as a paralegal at Morrison & Associates, the biggest law firm in our Rust Belt, Ohio town. Smart woman. Smart enough to plan an affair, apparently. "Fix the pipe?" she asked without looking up from her book. "Yeah," I said. "Fixed it." She nodded and turned a page. "Good. I'm having dinner with Lisa tomorrow night, so you're on your own for food." Lisa, her sister in Seattle. The lie came so easily. "Sounds good," I said, pulling on my pajama pants. "I'll probably work late anyway. Got 3 computers to rebuild this week." Sarah made a small noise of acknowledgement. She'd stopped caring about my work years ago, right around the time she started caring about Derek from college. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Sarah's breathing gradually slowed into sleep. She was probably dreaming about tomorrow night, about Derek, about the spark they were going to rekindle while I sat at home eating leftover pizza and wondering why my wife seemed so distant lately. But here's the thing about running an IT business. You learn to be thorough. You learn to gather evidence. You learn to plan. And I was about to get very, very thorough. The next morning, Sarah left for work with a spring in her step I hadn't seen in months. She actually hummed while making her coffee, something she only did when she was genuinely happy. It would have been sweet if it wasn't so devastating. "Have a good day, honey," she said, giving me a quick peck on the cheek. The same perfunctory kiss she'd given me every morning for the past 2 years. "You too," I replied, watching her grab her purse and head for the garage. "Enjoy dinner with your sister tonight." She paused for just a fraction of a second. "Oh, right. Yes. Should be nice catching up." The garage door opened and closed. Sarah's BMW backed out of the driveway and disappeared down Maple Street, heading toward downtown and Morrison and Associates, heading toward 8 hours of normal work before she'd drive to the Marriott to meet Derek. I had 8 hours to figure out exactly what I was dealing with. Sarah's laptop was password protected, but she'd been using the same password for everything since college, Butterfly23. I'd helped her set up her email accounts years ago, back when she actually wanted my help with technology. Her Gmail account opened like a book of evidence. 17 emails from Derek Patterson in the past month, starting 3 days after Jennifer Morrison's wedding. Jennifer was Sarah's college roommate, now a successful real estate agent in Columbus. The wedding Sarah had attended alone because I was supposedly too busy with work. Actually, she'd told me I wasn't invited because it was a small ceremony. The first email was innocent enough. "Great seeing you at Jen's wedding. You look exactly the same as you did at Ohio State." But they escalated quickly. By email number 5, Derek was writing things like, "I keep thinking about that night senior year when we almost ran away together. What if we had? What if we were meant to be together and we just got scared?" Email number 12 made my stomach turn. "I've been married to Patricia for 14 years, and I've never felt with her what I felt with you in just one conversation at that wedding. You're my soulmate, Sarah. I know it sounds crazy, but I think we owe it to ourselves to explore this." And Sarah's responses were just as bad. She wrote about how unfulfilled she felt, how I didn't understand her, how she'd been settling for security instead of following her heart. She described our marriage as comfortable but passionless, and said she wondered every day what her life would have been like if she'd stayed with Derek instead of falling for Mark's stability. Stability. That's what I was to her. Not a husband, not a partner, not someone she loved. Just stability. The most recent email, sent yesterday afternoon, contained logistics for tonight. "Room 412, Marriott downtown. I'll be there by 7 p.m. Can't wait to be in your arms again." Derek's response: "17 years of waiting will be worth it. I love you, Sarah. I never stopped loving you." I printed every email, 23 pages of evidence that my marriage was a lie. But I wasn't done. Sarah's phone records were accessible through our shared Verizon account. 47 text messages to Derek's number in the past month, including photos. Photos I couldn't access from the phone records, but I could see they'd been sent. I called Tank. "Mark, dude, it's barely 10 a.m. What's wrong?" "Can you meet me at Murphy's? I need a drink and someone to talk to." "On my way." Murphy's Tavern was the kind of dive bar that opened at 10 a.m. for people who needed beer for breakfast. Tank found me in a corner booth, staring at a stack of printed emails. Tank Morrison was 6'4", 250 pounds, of former high school football star who now ran a small construction company. He'd been my best friend since we were 12, and he was the only person I trusted completely. "Jesus, Mark, you look like someone died." "Someone did," I said, sliding the emails across the table. "My marriage." Tank read in silence, his expression growing darker with each page. When he finished, he signaled the bartender for 2 more beers. "What a bitch," he said finally. "And this Derek guy, he's married too?" 14 years, wife named Patricia, 2 kids according to his Facebook profile. "You looked him up?" "I looked up everything. Derek Patterson, 36 years old, lives in Chicago, works in pharmaceutical sales, makes good money, drives a Mercedes, lives in a house that cost 3 times what mine is worth." Tank shook his head. "So what's the plan? Confront her? Lawyer up?" I took a long drink of beer and considered my options. I could confront Sarah directly, but she'd just lie and deny everything. I could file for divorce, but Ohio was a no-fault state. Her affair wouldn't matter much in court. I could call Derek's wife Patricia, but that felt like dragging an innocent person into the mess. Or I could get creative. I'm going to give Sarah exactly what she wants, I said. What do you mean? She wants to follow her heart? She wants to explore her connection with her soulmate? She wants to see if the spark is still there? I finished my beer and stood up. Then that's exactly what she should do. Tank looked confused. Mark, you're scaring me a little. Don't worry, I said, leaving money on the table. I'm not going to do anything illegal. I'm just going to help my wife make an informed decision about her future. At 3 p.m., I called Sarah's office. Morrison and Associates, this is Sarah. Hey, honey, it's me. Oh, hi, Mark. What's up? She sounded distracted, probably thinking about her evening plans. I just wanted to let you know I'll be working late tonight, so don't worry if you get home before me. Actually, remember I'm having dinner with Lisa tonight. I probably won't be home until late. Right, of course. Lisa, tell her I said hi. I will. Love you. Love you too, Sarah. The lie came easily to both of us. I spent the next hour at Walmart buying supplies, a small digital camera, a cheap prepaid phone, and a sympathy card. Then I drove downtown to the Marriott. The hotel was one of those generic business class places, all marble lobby and generic art. I approached the front desk with my credit card and my most charming smile. I'd like to book a room for tonight, please. Certainly, sir. Any preferences? Actually, yes. My wife is surprising me by staying here tonight. It's our anniversary, and she mentioned room 412. Could I possibly get 414? I want to surprise her in the morning. The desk clerk, a young woman who probably found the request romantic, smiled and checked her computer. Room 414 is available. That's so sweet of you. I signed the register as Michael Thompson and paid cash for one night. Room 414 was directly across the hall from room 412, with a perfect view of Derek and Sarah's door through the peephole. Back home, I wrote a letter. Sarah, I know about Derek. I know about tonight. I know about all of it. You said you wanted to follow your heart and see if the spark is still there with your soulmate. You said I wouldn't understand because I'm not romantic enough, not passionate enough, too focused on stability instead of love. You're right. I don't understand. I don't understand how you could lie to my face every day for a month while planning to cheat on me. I don't understand how you could describe our 15-year marriage as settling for stability. I don't understand how you could text another man that you love him while sleeping next to me every night. But I do understand that you've made your choice. So I'm going to help you follow your heart. I've moved out of the house. The spare key is under the flower pot where it's always been. When you're ready to talk about divorce proceedings, you can reach me through Tank. Enjoy your spark. Mark P.S. Derek's wife, Patricia, might be interested in these emails. Her phone number is 3112-555-0147. I put the letter in the sympathy card, seemed appropriate, and drove back to the Marriott. At 6:45 p.m., I was in room 414 with the door cracked open just enough to see the hallway. My camera was ready, my prepaid phone was charged, and I had a clear view of room 412. Derek arrived first, at 6:52 p.m. He was exactly what I'd expected. Tall, well-dressed, expensive haircut, confident walk. He looked like the kind of guy who'd never fixed a leaky pipe in his life. He knocked on the door of 412 and waited. Sarah arrived at 7:03 p.m., wearing a black dress I'd never seen before. She'd had her hair done and was carrying a small overnight bag. She looked beautiful and excited and completely transformed from the woman who'd given me a perfunctory kiss that morning. Derek opened the door and they embraced in the hallway. Not a friendly hug, but a full-body, passionate embrace that lasted 15 seconds. Then he pulled her into the room and closed the door. I took pictures of everything. At 7:15, I slipped the sympathy card under their door and returned to my room. At 7:18, I heard the door open, footsteps in the hallway. A long pause. The door closed again. My prepaid phone rang at 7:22. Mark? Sarah's voice was shaky. Hi, Sarah. Where are you? Does it matter? Mark, we need to talk. This isn't... I can explain. Explain what? That you've been planning to cheat on me for a month? That you think our marriage is just settling for stability? That Derek is your soulmate and I'm just the guy who pays the bills? Silence. Sarah? How long have you known? Long enough. The question is, what are you going to do now? I'm coming home. We can work this out. No, I said. You made your choice. You chose Derek. You chose passion over stability. You chose your soulmate over your husband. So choose him. Mark, please. Spend the night with him, Sarah. See if the spark is everything you hoped it would be. See if 17 years of build-up lives up to the fantasy. See if Derek is really the love of your life, or just an escape from a marriage you never wanted. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You want passion? You want romance? You want someone who makes you feel like you did in college? Derek's right there. Take what you want. I hung up. The phone rang 6 more times over the next hour. I didn't answer. I checked out of the Marriott at 6 a.m. and drove to Tank's house. He lived in a ranch-style home with a 3-car garage and a basement that he'd converted into the ultimate man cave. Pool table, big screen TV, mini fridge stocked with beer, and comfortable leather furniture that had seen better days. You look like hell, Tank said, handing me a cup of coffee. How'd it go? I told him everything. The hotel room, the photos, the letter, the phone call. Damn, Mark, that's cold. I'm impressed. I'm not trying to be cold. I'm trying to be honest. Sarah wants Derek? She should have Derek. She wants to see if he's really her soulmate. Let her find out. And if she comes crawling back, she will. Derek's married with 2 kids and a life in Chicago. This was always going to be a fantasy, not a reality. When Sarah realizes that, she'll want to come home and pretend none of this happened. But you won't take her back. I sipped my coffee and stared at Tank's pool table. Would you? Hell no, but I'm not married to her. My phone buzzed. Sarah again. You going to answer it? Eventually, but not yet. Let her sit with her choice for a while. At 10 a.m., Tank's doorbell rang. Sarah stood on the front porch, still wearing the black dress from last night, her hair disheveled and her makeup smeared. She looked like she'd been crying. I know he's here, she said when Tank opened the door. I need to talk to my husband. Your husband's not here, Tank said. Mark is here, but I'm not sure you have a husband anymore. Sarah pushed past Tank and found me in the basement. Mark, thank God, we need to talk. How was your night? I asked, not looking up from the pool table where I was lining up a shot. It wasn't... Mark, I made a mistake. Really? What kind of mistake? Sarah sat down heavily in one of Tank's leather chairs. Derek isn't... He's not the person I remembered. He's not the person I thought he was. I sank the 8 ball and finally looked at her. What happened, Sarah? He's married, really married. He loves his wife, he loves his kids, he has no intention of leaving them. Last night was just sex to him, a chance to relive college. When I started talking about us having a real relationship, about leaving our spouses to be together, he laughed. He laughed? He said I was being ridiculous, that this was just a fun reunion, not a life change. He said his wife, Patricia, is the love of his life, and I was just... nostalgia. I leaned against the pool table. So the spark wasn't what you expected. Sarah's voice broke. There was no spark, Mark. There was just emptiness and guilt, and the realization that I threw away my marriage for a fantasy. You didn't throw away your marriage, Sarah. You revealed what your marriage really was. You revealed what you really thought of me, of us, of the life we built together. That's not fair. Isn't it? You called our marriage settling. You said I was too focused on stability instead of love. You said you wondered every day what your life would have been like if you'd stayed with Derek instead of falling for my stability. Sarah winced. You read the emails. Every single one. 23 pages of evidence that you never loved me. You just loved what I could provide. That's not true. Then why did you do it, Sarah? Why did you plan an affair for a month? Why did you lie to my face every single day? Why did you sleep next to me every night while texting another man that you loved him? Sarah started crying. Real tears this time, not the manipulative crying she used when she wanted something. Because I was scared. Scared of what? Scared that this was all there was. Scared that I'd married the wrong person. Scared that I was going to spend the rest of my life wondering, what if? I sat down across from her, and now you know. Now I know that what if was nothing. Derek was nothing. The fantasy was better than the reality, and the reality was pathetic. So what do you want from me, Sarah? I want to come home. I want to fix this. I want us to go to counseling and work through this and save our marriage. I was quiet for a long time, thinking about 15 years of marriage, about the house we'd bought together, about the life we'd built, thinking about the woman I'd fallen in love with and the woman sitting in front of me now. I can't do that, I said finally. Why not? Because you didn't just cheat on me, Sarah. You showed me who you really are. You showed me what you really think of me, of us, of everything we've built together. You can't take that back. People make mistakes, Mark. People do stupid things and regret them and learn from them. This wasn't a mistake. This was a choice, a series of choices made over the course of a month while lying to me every single day. Sarah wiped her eyes. So that's it? 15 years of marriage and you're just going to throw it all away? I'm not throwing anything away. You already did that. She stood up, anger replacing sadness. Fine. You want to be stubborn and unforgiving? You want to punish me forever for one mistake? Fine. But don't pretend this is about principle. This is about your ego. Maybe it is. But my ego isn't the one that destroyed our marriage. Sarah headed for the stairs. I'll be at my sister's, the real one, in Seattle. When you're ready to act like an adult and work on our problems instead of running away from them, you can call me. She left, and Tank came downstairs with 2 beers. You okay? I think so. It's weird. I thought I'd feel worse. You feel relieved? Yeah, I do. But I wasn't prepared for what came next. Sarah didn't go to Seattle. She went to her friend Jennifer Morrison's house, and Jennifer had opinions about my behavior. Strong opinions, which she shared with anyone who would listen. By Wednesday, half the town knew that Sarah and I had separated. By Friday, Jennifer's version of events had spread through every social circle we'd ever been part of. Mark was a cold, unforgiving husband who'd thrown his wife out over a minor indiscretion. Sarah had made one small mistake, and I'd responded by publicly humiliating her and refusing to work on our marriage. The truth, the emails, the month of planning, the lies, somehow got lost in Jennifer's retelling. Sarah became the victim, and I became the villain. My phone started ringing on Saturday morning. First, it was Dave Chen from the softball league. Mark, man, what the hell? Jennifer Morrison says you threw Sarah out for talking to an old boyfriend? It's more complicated than that, Dave. Look, I don't know what happened between you two, but Sarah's a good person. Maybe you should think about counseling or something before you do anything permanent. Dave hung up before I could explain. Then it was Carol Williams from Sarah's book club. Mark, I'm calling as a friend. I think you're making a huge mistake. Sarah loves you, and she's devastated. Whatever she did, it can't be worth destroying your marriage over. Carol, you don't know the whole story. I know enough. I know that marriage is hard work, and sometimes people make mistakes, and real love means forgiveness. More hang-ups, more lectures about forgiveness and marriage and working through problems. By Sunday, I'd gotten calls from 12 different people, all with the same message. I was being unreasonable, Sarah was sorry, and I needed to man up and save my marriage. The worst call came from my own mother. "Mark, honey, I just talked to Sarah. She's heartbroken." "Mom, Sarah cheated on me. She made a mistake, a stupid mistake, but that's all it was. She didn't even go through with it." "She absolutely went through with it. She spent the night in a hotel room with another man." "But she came back to you. She chose you. Isn't that what matters?" I tried to explain about the emails, about the month of planning, about the lies. But my mother, like everyone else, had already decided what the story was. Sarah had a moment of weakness, I'd overreacted, and I was destroying my marriage over pride. "Your father and I went through rough patches too," Mom said. "Marriage isn't easy, but you work through it. You don't just give up at the first sign of trouble." "This isn't the first sign of trouble, Mom. This is the last sign." But she wasn't listening. Nobody was listening. By Monday morning, I was the most hated man in our social circle. The cold husband who'd abandoned his wife over a minor mistake. The unforgiving bastard who cared more about his ego than his marriage. And Sarah? Sarah was the victim. The poor woman whose husband had thrown her away instead of fighting for their love. I was in Murphy's Tavern by noon, drinking beer and wondering how the truth had gotten so twisted. "It's Jennifer Morrison," Tank said, joining me at the bar. "She's been telling everyone that Sarah barely did anything wrong, and you went nuclear over nothing." "Sarah's been talking to Jennifer?" "Living with her, from what I hear. And Jennifer's got a lot of friends in this town." I thought about Jennifer Morrison, successful real estate agent, well-connected, popular, the kind of person whose opinion carried weight in social circles. "She's protecting her friend," I said. "She's destroying your reputation," Tank replied. "People are taking sides, and most of them are picking Sarah. Let them." But it wasn't that simple. By Wednesday, I'd lost 3 clients from my IT business. People who'd decided they didn't want to support a man who'd abandoned his wife. My Thursday night poker game was canceled. Too much tension in the group. The guys from my softball team stopped calling. Sarah, meanwhile, was getting sympathy and support from everyone. Offers to help her through the divorce, invitations to dinner, shoulders to cry on. She was the wounded party, the victim of her husband's cruelty. And the worst part? I was starting to wonder if they were right. Maybe I had overreacted. Maybe I should have tried counseling. Maybe 15 years of marriage was worth fighting for, even after what Sarah had done. Maybe I was the villain after all. The breaking point came on Friday night at Murphy's Tavern. I was having a quiet beer, trying to avoid the stares and whispers, when Dave Chen, Mike Thompson, and Jim Foster walked in. 3 guys I'd considered friends for over a decade. They saw me and walked straight to my table. "We need to talk," Dave said, sitting down without invitation. "About what?" "About what you're doing to Sarah," Mike said. "This has gone too far, Mark." Jim leaned forward. "She came to my wife crying yesterday. Crying, Mark. She's devastated." "Sarah made her choice," I said. "She chose Derek over me. I'm just respecting that choice." "Bullshit," Dave said. "She made one mistake, and you're crucifying her for it." "One mistake?" "Dave, she planned an affair for a month. She lied to me every single day. She told another man she loved him while sleeping in my bed." "According to who?" Mike asked. "According to you? We've only heard your side of the story. Because it's the truth." "Is it?" Jim leaned back in his chair. "Or is it your version of the truth? Your way of justifying throwing away a 15-year marriage because your ego got bruised?" I stared at them. These were men I'd known for years, men I'd trusted, men I'd considered friends, and they were calling me a liar. "You think I'm making this up?" "I think you're exaggerating," Dave said. "I think Sarah had some contact with an old boyfriend, maybe even met him for dinner, and you lost your mind. She spent the night in a hotel room with him. Says who? Says the hotel receipt. Says the photos I took. Says Sarah herself. Mike shook his head. Photos of what? Sarah walking into a hotel? That doesn't prove anything. It proves she lied about having dinner with her sister. So she lied about where she was having dinner, Jim said. Maybe she was embarrassed about meeting an old friend. Maybe she knew you'd overreact. Like you're overreacting now, Dave added. I felt something snap inside me. You want proof? Fine. I pulled out my phone and opened the folder where I'd saved photos of Sarah's emails. 23 pages of evidence that these 3 men were calling lies. Read, I said, sliding the phone across the table. Dave picked it up and started reading. His expression changed after the first email. Mike and Jim read over his shoulder, their faces growing more serious with each page. When they finished, the table was quiet. Jesus, Mike said finally. This is bad, Mark, Jim added. Dave looked up from the phone. Why didn't you show us this before? Because I shouldn't have to prove to my friends that my wife cheated on me. We didn't know, Mike said. Jennifer said Sarah barely did anything wrong. She said you were being vindictive over nothing. Jennifer doesn't know about the emails. Sarah didn't tell her the whole truth. Dave handed back my phone. So what are you going to do? I'm going to get divorced and move on with my life. What about Sarah? What about her? She made her choice. She chose Derek, but Derek didn't choose her back. That's not my problem. Jim shook his head. That's cold, man. Is it? Or is it realistic? Sarah didn't love me, Jim. She loved what I provided, security, stability, a comfortable life, but she didn't love me. She said so herself, in writing, to another man. People say things they don't mean when they're confused, Mike said. For a month? In 23 different emails? While planning to cheat? They had no answer for that. Look, I said, finishing my beer. I appreciate that you guys care about Sarah. She's going to need friends to get through this. But I'm not the villain here. I'm just the guy who got tired of being lied to. I left them at the table and headed for the door. Mark, Dave called after me. I turned back. We're sorry. We should have listened to your side before taking Jennifer's word for it. Yeah, I said. You should have. But the damage was already done. The story was out there, and people had chosen sides. Changing their minds now wouldn't change what had happened. I was done trying to defend myself. I was done caring what people thought. I was done with all of it. 2 weeks later, Sarah filed for divorce. She wanted half of everything: the house, my business, my retirement accounts, my savings. She also wanted alimony, claiming she'd sacrificed her career to support my business. That was a lie. Sarah had worked full-time as a paralegal throughout our entire marriage. She'd never sacrificed anything for my business. But her lawyer, Patricia Hendricks from Morrison & Associates, was good. Very good. And she was painting a picture of Sarah as the devoted wife who'd been abandoned by her cold, unforgiving husband. My lawyer, Bob Martinez, was less impressed with Sarah's case. The emails help, he said, reviewing the evidence I'd provided. They show she was planning to leave the marriage anyway. But Ohio is a no-fault state, so the affair won't affect property division much. What about alimony? That's harder to predict. How long was she out of work? She was never out of work. She's been employed full-time for 15 years. Bob looked surprised. Then why is she claiming she sacrificed her career? Because her lawyer thinks she can get away with it. We'll fight it. But Mark, you should know, this is going to get ugly. Sarah's lawyer is known for being aggressive. Bob was right. Over the next month, Patricia Hendricks filed motion after motion, demanding financial records, business documents, tax returns going back 10 years. She subpoenaed my clients, my bank, my accountant. She was trying to prove that I was hiding assets or undervaluing my business. I wasn't. My IT business was exactly what it appeared to be: a small, profitable company that provided steady income but wasn't worth millions. My house was worth what the assessor said it was worth. My savings account contained exactly what the bank statements showed. But the process was expensive, time-consuming, and designed to wear me down. Patricia Hendricks was hoping I'd settle just to make it stop. That's when I decided to stop playing defense and start playing offense. I called Derek Patterson. Hello? Derek, this is Mark Thompson, Sarah's husband. Long pause. Oh, hi. I wanted to thank you. Thank me? For showing me who my wife really was, for helping me understand that my marriage was a lie, for giving Sarah exactly what she deserved. Look, Mark, I'm sorry about what happened. I never meant to get caught? I know, but you did get caught, and now Sarah's trying to take half of everything I own in the divorce. I don't know what you want me to say. I don't want you to say anything. I want you to know that I've been in touch with your wife, Patricia. Silence. Derek, you called my wife? I sent her copies of the emails. All 23 pages. I thought she should know what kind of man she's married to. You bastard. Did you know Patricia hired a private investigator? Did you know she's filing for divorce too? Did you know she's asking for full custody of your kids and half of your pharmaceutical sales income? Derek's breathing was heavy on the other end of the line. You destroyed my life. No, Derek, you destroyed your own life. I just made sure the right people knew about it. I hung up. 3 days later, Sarah called me, screaming, "What did you do to Derek?" Nothing. I just shared some information with his wife. His wife is divorcing him. He's losing his kids. His job is in jeopardy because Patricia sent the emails to his boss. That sounds like Derek's problem, not mine. You vindictive bastard. You destroyed his life. I told the truth, Sarah. The same truth you tried to hide from everyone. This isn't about truth. This is about revenge. Maybe, but it's also about consequences. You and Derek thought you could have your affair without anyone getting hurt. You thought you could lie and cheat and manipulate people and just walk away when it got complicated. We made a mistake. You made a choice, and choices have consequences. Sarah was crying now. Derek's life is ruined. His wife won't let him see his kids. He might lose his job. Good. How can you be so cruel? How could you plan to cheat on me for a month while lying to my face every single day? Sarah hung up, but I wasn't done yet. The divorce proceedings dragged on for 3 more months. Patricia Hendricks kept filing motions, kept demanding documents, kept trying to prove I was hiding assets. She was costing Sarah a fortune in legal fees, but Sarah was determined to make me pay for embarrassing her. That's when I made my final move. I called Jennifer Morrison. Mark, why are you calling me? Because I have something you need to see. I don't want to talk to you. What you did to Sarah was unforgivable. What I did? Jennifer, what exactly do you think I did? You threw Sarah out over nothing. You humiliated her publicly. You refused to work on your marriage. Is that what Sarah told you? That's what happened. Jennifer, I'm going to email you something. After you read it, if you still think I'm the villain in this story, I'll never contact you again. I sent her the emails. All 23 pages. Jennifer called me back an hour later. Oh my God, Mark, I had no idea. Sarah didn't tell you about the emails? She said she'd been talking to an old boyfriend, but she made it sound innocent. She said you'd overreacted to a few text messages. 23 pages of emails planning an affair is not a few innocent text messages. I feel sick. I've been telling everyone you were being unreasonable. I've been defending her for months. I know. Mark, I'm so sorry. I should have gotten your side of the story before I started spreading gossip. Yes, you should have. Jennifer was quiet for a moment. What can I do to fix this? Tell the truth. Tell people what really happened. Stop letting Sarah play the victim when she's the one who destroyed our marriage. I will. I promise. And Jennifer kept her promise. Within a week, the story around town had changed completely. People who'd been avoiding me started calling to apologize. Clients who'd dropped my business asked to come back. The guys from my softball team invited me to rejoin the league. Sarah, meanwhile, found herself with fewer and fewer supporters. People who'd been offering her sympathy and help suddenly became too busy to return her calls. Her victim narrative fell apart once people knew the truth. The divorce was finalized in December. Sarah got half the house value and half my retirement account, but no alimony. The judge wasn't impressed with her claims about sacrificing her career, especially when I provided evidence that she'd been employed full-time throughout our marriage. Patricia Hendricks had cost Sarah more in legal fees than she'd gained in the settlement. Derek Patterson lost everything. His wife divorced him and got full custody of their children. His pharmaceutical company fired him for moral turpitude after Patricia sent the emails to his boss. Last I heard, he was working at a car dealership in Michigan and living in a studio apartment. Sarah moved to an apartment across town and went back to using her maiden name. She tried online dating for a while, but word gets around in a small town. Most men weren't interested in dating a woman who'd cheated on her husband of 15 years. As for me, I kept my business, bought out Sarah's half of the house, and started dating again. It turned out that being the victim of infidelity rather than the perpetrator made me much more attractive to single women in town. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I ran into Sarah at the grocery store. She looked older, tired, like the weight of her choices had finally caught up with her. "Hello, Mark." "Sarah." We stood there awkwardly in the cereal aisle, two people who'd shared 15 years of their lives and now had nothing to say to each other. "How are you?" she asked finally. "I'm good. Really good, actually. I heard you're dating someone. Lisa Chen, Dave's sister. She's a teacher." Sarah nodded. "That's nice. How about you? How are you doing?" Sarah's smile was forced. "I'm fine. Getting used to the apartment. Learning to be single again." "Any regrets?" She looked at me for a long moment. "About Derek? Yes. About leaving you? I don't know. We weren't happy, Mark. We hadn't been happy for a long time. I was happy. You were comfortable. There's a difference." Maybe she was right. Maybe we had been more comfortable than happy. Maybe our marriage had been running on autopilot for years. But that didn't justify what she'd done. That didn't make the lies acceptable. That didn't excuse the betrayal. "I hope you find what you're looking for," I said. "I hope you do too." I pushed my cart past her and continued shopping. In the parking lot, I saw her sitting in her car, crying. For a moment, I felt sorry for her. She'd gambled everything on a fantasy and lost. But then I remembered the emails, the lies, the month of planning, the way she'd looked at Derek in that hotel hallway. And I drove home to my house now, where Lisa was making dinner and waiting for me. A year later, Lisa and I were engaged. She was everything Sarah wasn't. Honest, straightforward, supportive of my work, genuinely interested in building a life together rather than just enjoying the benefits of one. Our engagement party was at Tank's house, with all the friends who'd eventually come around to supporting me, plus Lisa's family and some new friends we'd made together. Sarah wasn't invited, obviously. But I heard from Jennifer Morrison that she was still single, still living in that apartment, still struggling to rebuild her life after the divorce. Derek Patterson had moved back to Ohio and was working at a hardware store in Akron. His ex-wife, Patricia, had remarried and moved to California with the kids. Derek got to see them 2 weeks every summer. "Do you ever feel bad about what happened to them?" Lisa asked me one evening as we planned our wedding. "Sometimes," I admitted. Derek's kids didn't deserve to lose their father. Patricia didn't deserve to have her marriage destroyed. But Sarah and Derek made their choices. They knew they were married. They knew they were risking everything. They just thought they wouldn't get caught. Lisa nodded. "And if they hadn't gotten caught?" "They would have kept lying. Sarah would have kept cheating. Eventually, she would have left me anyway. but she would have done it in a way that made me look like the bad guy. So you have no regrets? I thought about it. 15 years of marriage, a shared history, good times mixed in with the bad. I regret that it ended the way it did. I regret that Sarah felt she had to lie instead of just telling me she was unhappy. I regret that we couldn't find a way to fix our problems before they became unfixable. But you don't regret leaving her? No, I don't regret that. And I didn't. Sarah had shown me who she really was, and I'd believed her. She'd made her choice, and I'd respected it. The wedding was small and simple, held at the same church where Sarah and I had been married 15 years earlier. Different bride, different groom in some ways, different future. During the reception, Tank gave a toast. To Mark and Lisa, who proved that sometimes the best revenge is living well. Everyone laughed and raised their glasses. But Tank was wrong about one thing. It wasn't revenge. It was just life. Moving forward, making better choices, learning from mistakes. Sarah had taught me that some people will lie to your face while planning to betray you. That some people will choose fantasy over reality, excitement over stability, selfishness over commitment. But she'd also taught me that I deserved better. That I was worth more than being someone's backup plan, that I didn't have to accept lies and manipulation just to avoid being alone. Lisa had taught me that real love doesn't require deception, that a good relationship is built on honesty, respect, and genuine affection, that being chosen feels completely different from being settled for. As I danced with my new wife at our wedding reception, I caught sight of myself in the mirror behind the band. I looked happy, really happy, not just comfortable. Sarah had been right about one thing. There was a difference, and I'd finally learned what that difference was. 6 months later, I heard that Sarah had moved to Columbus and was working for a different law firm, starting over in a new city where nobody knew her story. I hoped she'd learned something from what happened. I hoped she'd find a way to be happy that didn't involve destroying other people's lives. But mostly, I didn't think about her at all. I was too busy building a new life with someone who'd chosen me not for my stability, but for me. Someone who didn't see our relationship as settling, but as the best decision she'd ever made. Someone who would never make me wonder if I was enough. And that, I realized, was the real victory. Not the revenge, not the public vindication, not even the satisfaction of being proven right. The real victory was finding someone who loved me the way I deserved to be loved. Everything else was just noise.